Chanel officially announced Jungkook as its global ambassador for fragrances and beauty, a confirmation many had long anticipated. The brand presented him with the confidence that his presence perfectly aligns with the elegant and modern image that characterizes the French fashion house. The news came after several intense days within the fandom, so the confirmation generated relief and satisfaction. Jungkook appeared in the first images as the Chanel guy, with a sophisticated aesthetic and a commanding presence that captivated everyone's attention. His polished and sophisticated image projects confidence and naturalness, qualities that have been constant throughout his career. Given how his career has evolved, there is no doubt that his participation in this new campaign will have a global impact. This announcement also sparked enthusiasm among those who closely follow his artistic journey, including Taekook fans, who always watch with interest as Jungkook and Taehyung progress in their own projects while maintaining a close and stable personal and professional relationship. For many, seeing Jungkook achieve something so significant adds another layer to the admiration they have for them as a duo. While news of Chanel was spreading, another event drew attention outside the HYBE building. 7 support trucks were sent to Jungkook, positioned right next to those that had arrived the previous day with negative messages directed at him. These trucks weren't just from Taekook fans, supporters from many other parts of the fandom participated, wanting the situation to end quickly and the atmosphere surrounding the artist to be cleared. The presence of the vehicles painted a clear picture. Jungkook has a fanbase that not only supports him on social media but also mobilizes physically when necessary. Despite attempts by some detractors to damage his image, the overall reaction showed that his reputation remains strong. Those who have followed his career for years know that Jungkook has remained consistent, hardworking, and dedicated. His growth as a singer, dancer, and creator has been constant, and his way of interacting with the public has been characterized by the same humility and discipline since his beginnings. For many fans, Jungkook stands out not only for his looks and talent, but also for the clarity with which he faces every challenge, even amidst external noise. His discreet and focused approach has made him a model of professionalism. Furthermore, his ability to remain authentic has been key to his connection with the public. It is here that his value becomes most apparent, and where even those who follow Taekook find reasons to admire him. His way of relating to those he cares about remains stable, respectful, and genuine, especially with those with whom he has shared so many years of his career. The Chanel announcement, along with the visible support for HYBE, marked a significant moment. On one hand, Jungkook demonstrates that his influence transcends music and extends into the world of fashion and beauty. On the other, the fandom was reminded that in any situation, there will always be an organized response that seeks to protect him without resorting to excess, simply by showing presence and unity. To continue remembering the special affection that Jungkook and Taehyung have always shown, it's worth revisiting one of those moments that many fans hold so dear. It's a memory that explains why Taehyung and Jungkook have shared such beautiful and meaningful moments that they don't need to be defended, they just need to be remembered. Over the years, their relationship has had a naturalness that stands out without any need for exaggeration. From the beginning, there was a connection that went beyond the ordinary, a way of interacting that showed trust, comfort, and a mutual attention rarely found in casual relationships. For many Taekook fans, this closeness is perceived as a bond that grew into something strong, authentic, and constant. One of the most memorable moments occurred when Jungkook traveled to the United States during his trainee days. Although he was very young and still discovering himself, he made a simple yet significant decision. Of all the gifts he could have brought back, the only one he chose for someone in the group was for Taehyung. Jungkook bought himself a t-shirt, the first one he purchased during that trip, and decided to give it to Taehyung. He explained that the garment was imbued with Taehyung's effort and dedication, something he valued. And yet, he wanted to share it with Taehyung. That detail carries special weight when viewed calmly. Being thousands of miles away, with so many new things around him, Jungkook thought of Taehyung before anyone else. He didn't do it as part of a plan or a premeditated action. It was an honest impulse, a natural expression of who he had in mind at that moment. For those who have followed Taekook for years, that memory is just one among many that show how they have supported each other through important stages of their lives. Jungkook was a minor then, a young man trying to understand who he was and how he felt, but even so, he made it clear through his actions that Taehyung held a special place in his world. He didn't need to say it with words. Over time, that dynamic didn't change. On the contrary, it became more visible in the way they cared for each other, supported each other, and sought each other out in key moments. Many of their interactions seem built on a deep trust, the kind that arises when two people understand each other without needing to explain everything or make exaggerated displays. For Taekook, that is the essence of the bond that has accompanied them for so many years, a connection not based on theories or arguments, but on actions they have witnessed repeatedly. Small moments, spontaneous glances, gestures that reveal genuine attention and companionship. Nothing forced, nothing fabricated. Therefore, when we talk about the love that Taekook represents, it's not about romanticizing what doesn't exist, but about recognizing how their relationship has grown and endured. A kind of affection that is strengthened by obstacles, distances, and changing phases. A bond that, regardless of time, remains strong because it was born from a real connection. Everything else is noise that doesn't change the essence. What matters are those authentic, visible, and concrete moments they have shared. For many, Taekook remains the embodiment of a loyal, strong, and meaningful bond, built on everyday experiences and sustained by actions rather than words. Remembering these details is enough to understand why their relationship continues to be so special to those who have followed them from the beginning. For years, many Taekookers have pointed out something that doesn't depend on theories or exaggerated interpretations. Jungkook and Taehyung have a particular way of relating to each other, a way that doesn't need words and is noticeable even when they aren't trying to show anything. What's most striking is the naturalness with which it happens. It doesn't matter if they're in front of cameras, surrounded by people, or in a relaxed setting, those gestures they share remain the same, constant, and spontaneous. At first glance, it might seem like something small, but when you observe closely, it becomes evident that there's a completely different dynamic between them than the one Jungkook or Taehyung have with other members. It's not that they're trying to get attention, it simply flows. The way they look at each other reveals a connection that is formed over time. There's no need to justify it or embellish it. It's there, and it always has been. That way of approaching each other, of briefly touching as if they just need silent confirmation, is something that has been constant for years. And it is precisely this consistency that leads many Taekook fans to speak not of a fabricated idea, but of a relationship that has grown and strengthened despite the stages they have both experienced. It's not about creating an artificial romantic story, it's about recognizing that there is a closeness between them that has overcome barriers, distances, and personal and professional changes. What's interesting is that neither of them seems to feel the need to moderate their behavior when they are with the other. If Jungkook feels the need to call Taehyung with his eyes, he simply does. If Taehyung approaches with the slightest gesture, Jungkook responds without hesitation. This ease of connecting without words is what stands out most. These are not obligatory actions or forced signals, they are details repeated over time, in different contexts and situations. When we talk about the love that Taekook represents, we are not talking about a romance invented to fuel theories. We are talking about a solid kind of affection, one that has demonstrated resilience in the face of situations that could have driven them apart. A bond that adapts and endures even when their lives change, when work becomes more demanding, or when their environment requires them to maintain a certain public distance. Despite everything, their connection remains visible. It's the simple moments that carry the most weight, a glance that lingers a second longer than usual, a quick touch that neither seems to question, a mutual search amidst a large group, as if by finding each other they reaffirm something known only to them. These moments aren't the product of an act, because no one forces them to repeat them, nor do they gain anything by doing so. They arise from habit, from trust, and from the comfort they feel together. People may argue, deny, or minimize these gestures, but the truth is that no other relationship within the group manifests itself in this way. Jungkook doesn't act like this with anyone else, and neither does Taehyung. It's enough to observe how their expressions change when they're near each other, or how they seem to understand each other even without speaking. In the end, what many consider special about Taekook isn't a theory, but a sum of consistent, natural, and visible moments. These moments showcase a connection built over time, one that remains strong regardless of the circumstances. Everything else is just noise that doesn't alter the essence, the way the two of them relate to each other.